When the sun rose over the town of Black Hollow, every single person was gone. Not dead, not hiding. Gone. The horses still stood tied outside the saloon. Coffee still steamed on kitchen tables. And the church bell was still ringing. Black Hollow was a quiet western town buried deep between dry mountains and endless desert. Only 312 people lived there. Travelers rarely stopped. Most people avoided the place entirely. The townsfolk had one strange rule: never go outside after the midnight bell. Nobody explained why, and nobody asked questions. Sheriff Elias Boone had protected the town for nearly 15 years. Hard man, quiet man, the kind of man who carried secrets behind his eyes. One evening, a young traveler named Daniel Mercer arrived just before sunset. Dust covered his boots. His horse looked half dead from the desert heat. As he entered the saloon, conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward him. The bartender slowly whispered, "You need to leave before dark." Daniel laughed. "Storm coming?" Nobody smiled. An old woman sitting near the fireplace stared at him with shaking hands. "Tonight is the bell night." Daniel rented a room upstairs anyway. That night, strange things filled the town. Windows were nailed shut. Candles burned inside every home. People hurried through the streets carrying bags of salt. Children were dragged indoors before sunset at exactly 11:45 p.m. The entire town became silent. No piano, no voices, no horses, only wind. Daniel watched from his hotel window. Then he noticed something strange. Every house had the same symbol painted above the door, a black circle with a line through the center. At midnight, the church bell rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then the sound changed. The bell no longer sounded normal. It echoed too long, too deep, almost alive. And then, something moved at the far end of the street. Tall, thin, dragging something behind it. Daniel squinted into the darkness. The figure stopped beneath a lantern. Its face was hidden beneath a wide black hat. But its arms were impossibly long. Daniel grabbed his revolver and stepped outside. The streets were empty, every door locked, every curtain closed. The figure stood motionless in the center of town. Then slowly, it turned toward him. The sound it made wasn't human, like dozens of whispers speaking at once. Daniel froze. Suddenly, the church bell rang again. The figure vanished, not ran. Vanished. Daniel spun around in panic. Then he heard footsteps behind him. Sheriff Boone stood there holding a shotgun, furious. "You fool! You rang eyes on it!" Daniel frowned. "What the hell was that thing?" The sheriff grabbed him violently. "Inside, now!" Inside the sheriff's office, Boone locked every door and covered the windows. Then he finally spoke. 50 years earlier, Black Hollow was built above an abandoned silver mine. Miners digging underground discovered a hidden chamber older than the town itself. Inside the chamber stood a massive black bell. No markings, no rust, no explanation. One miner rang it. That night, half the workers disappeared. The survivors claimed a tall figure walked through the streets after midnight collecting people who heard the bell. The town tried destroying it, burning it, burying it. Nothing worked. So the townspeople made rules instead. Never answer the bell. Never look outside. Never follow the whispers. Daniel stared in disbelief. "You actually believe this?" The sheriff looked terrified. "I've seen what happens when people don't." Then came the scream. A woman outside. Daniel rushed to the window. A lantern rolled through the dirt road. A woman stumbled across the street crying for help. Something moved behind her in the darkness. Fast. Too fast. The woman suddenly stopped running. Her body lifted slowly into the air, like invisible hands grabbed her. Then, she disappeared into the darkness. Silence returned instantly. Daniel backed away from the window in horror. The sheriff quietly loaded more shells into his shotgun. It started early. At sunrise, Black Hollow was empty. Every person gone. No bodies, no blood, no tracks leading out. Breakfast still sat on tables. Poker cards remained in players' hands. A baby cried alone inside a house near the church. Daniel and Sheriff Boone were the only adults left. Or so they thought, because written across the church wall in black ash were the words, "The bell has not finished." Inside the church, Daniel discovered a hidden trapdoor beneath the altar. Below it, a tunnel led deep underground. The walls were covered in the black circle symbol, and at the end of the tunnel, they found the bell. Massive, dark, cold as ice, and standing beside it were the missing townspeople, motionless, silent, eyes completely black. Sheriff Boone whispered, "Don't let them hear your voice." But one child slowly turned toward Daniel and whispered, "It knows you came." Then the bell rang by itself. The tunnel shook violently. The townspeople began smiling unnaturally wide. One by one, they started walking toward Daniel. Not running, walking slowly, like they already knew escape was impossible. Sheriff Boone fired his shotgun. The blast echoed through the chamber, but the people kept walking. Then Daniel finally saw it, behind the bell, the tall figure, watching, waiting, its long arms stretched across the cave walls like shadows. And beneath its hat, there was no face, only darkness. The last thing Daniel heard before the lantern went out was, "When the bell rings again, your town is next." To this day, travelers crossing the western desert claim they sometimes hear church bells after midnight, even where no town exists.